Kulika is a Luganda word, which if translated to English would be to congratulate one for achieving a goal or even surviving a bad omen. During the days of turmoil, as people try to escape excursions with others seeking education abroad, especially in the United Kingdom, while lacking funds, they got surprised when a non-Ugandan Patricia, Brennan Khmer, who sought to help them, had formed an organization, Kulika UK, a trust that would later find funds to cater for their studies. This was not miraculous, but she coined the name Kulika from her experience while working in Uganda in the mid-60s and 1970 as a child care officer to fulfill her passion she visionary had to help children after hearing that the African child leads a life full of misery. Even after some time while out of Uganda, the quest for Patricia to revisit some of the projects she had left in the country could haunt her to see if community challenges that children suffered in the country were subsiding. Since the projects she had earlier visited were church-driven, on returning, Patricia paid a courtesy call to the Secretary General of the Catholic Secretariat in Uganda, the then Monsignor Henry Santongo, and according to Basil Chiwanika, the talk centered on efforts to find donors who would fundraise for those in need of educational scholarships. Patricia was of the view that a committee be formed to scrutinize suitable candidates for the scholarships and respective donors who would sponsor those who needed scholarships. Monsignor Henry Santongo was nominated chairman, while Sim Chiwanaka nominated secretary of the Scholarship and Sponsorship Committee. Kulika Uganda Executive Director Magdalene Amjal Ogwang gives the insights to this.
Education is one of the program areas that Kulika works on, and that Patricia, that was very close to Patricia's heart. She came to Uganda still and saw bright but needy students who needed their capacity to be developed, who needed education. So she started education program where she was given scholarships, and that program grew from scholarships at university level to diploma level, and on top of that, the education program also works with vocational training institutes, not only to give scholarships but also to support infrastructure development for vocational schools like dormitories, classrooms for such institutions, and also supporting them with materials that can be used to make teaching better.
To date, education through scholarships continues to be a main program for Kulika to train a formidable cadreship to inspire many of the community members into Kulika programs. Among the many that have benefited from such programs include executives who have headed Kulika. These include the outgoing boards, for instance, Council Peters Mosoke and Dr. Wensense Slaus Rama Makuza, but also the incoming board members. However, the institution stretches further to collaborate such opportunities to those people who share similar philosophies, like Kulika in the field of farming. Eustace Sajabi spreads knowledge in ecological farming to communities in the field of agriculture and is one such beneficiary.
During that time, we were a one project organization. We were funded by only one donor. But after this training, we've done better. We've developed structures within the organization, and we got a number of donors. In addition to that, After the training, I was interested on a number of boards.
What then would be the best methodology to handle such a situation? There was need to create an M that sounds Ugandan, and this is what is now called Kulika Uganda. The birth of Kulika Uganda at most meant diversifying activities, not only catering for education, but other needs of society. An idea was mooted to register Kulika Uganda as a non-governmental voluntary development organization. It was this time that agriculture as a development component was added among the key activities of Kulika, since agriculture is the backbone of the country's economy.
As a social worker that she was, she visited the communities in the villages in rural Uganda and saw that the children and their mothers were hungry, and she thought that she needed to contribute to food production in families. So what Patricia did was to start an agricultural program in which the people, the women and the families, the households are trained in producing good food. The good food for Patricia is the food which is produced using ecological organic agriculture methods or practices, and the food is produced and the surplus is sold for income generation to support the families.
In order to be able to carry out such activities, a training center is in place to facilitate knowledge and skills acquisition for learners in the field of agriculture. This program started as an outreach program for the communities where Kulika offers extension services to farmers.
On the side of the community, we have a program which we call the Community Outreach Program. This reaches to the communities, especially nearby. It offers extension services. It invites the learners to the training center to have a look and learn. And then we go down to their homes to support them in implementation of the skills taught. Therefore, by and large, this has a lot of the married women. The youth who have not had the opportunity to proceed with education are also beneficiaries in this. The main areas they mainly focus on are food production and a little bit of food processing.
Established in 2007 and situated at Lutisi village in Namayuba Town Council, Wakiso district, it is this center where a workforce of farmers, trainers have been trained to transfer on skills to the farmers. These trainers live within the communities to enable a knowledge exchange best amongst farmers. Walugembe Andrew lives in Bowasa village, Champisi parish in Namayuba Town Council, Wakiso district. Kulika trained him as a trainer of trainers way back in 2011 on staple foods. These are indigenous crops grown in an area and nearly cultivated by every home. This project has been tagged as that of Inno Foods. In this area, Walugembe is training 10 farmers.
Inno Food is a program supported by Kulika Uganda, Makerere University and Women, plus we the farmers. It's a research where farmers have also to participate in that research. And for us, we are dealing with the Inno Foods. Those are our staples. For us in the Buganda region, we understand that matoke is our major food crop. So we selected 4 cooking varieties of banana, including Mbwazilume, Mpologoma, Chisansa, and Ufuka.
Joyce Tiwananuka Ekere is a project manager in Inno Foods.
The project is a consortium of 1 of 20 partners. 15 of them are in Africa and 5 are in Europe. So the African partners there is Kenya, there is the countries where this actually project is happening. It is in Kenya, in South Africa, in Ethiopia and Uganda. And then here in Uganda, the partners we work with are four. It's Kulika Uganda, which is actually does the farming, works with the farmers. And then Makerere University is the research. They are the researchers. Then the FONAS, they are the one adding value and processing this food into nutrient-dense foods. Then WUMA, which is doing the marketing. Now, actually the nutrient-dense foods, which we are trying to produce from our foods that we are producing, we are aiming at both local and international markets, actually European markets.
The need of producing organic foods for the local and international markets is first and foremost to ensure food security in the country and to demystify the belief that organic farming cannot produce enough food to feed the world. For instance, here farmers under Kulika groups demonstrate that in their gardens they use organic methods to nurture crops and still acquire good yields.
We are making research on 4 types of fertilizers. That is poultry litter, cow dung, bokash, and biochar. And in my group, I'm training 10 farmers so that they can also go and train other farmers in the way of growing banana.
Joyce Tibananuka says, as farmers engage in the process of farming, they observe and select best practices for each crop grown by a particular group. Tibananuka adds that the farmers are highly involved in research about these crops they are growing.
Then for bananas, they were selecting the best performing manure. We had 4 varieties of matoke, which were local, and they were selected by the farmers. The bases they used, they said this one is early maturing, this one has very good market. When you cut it, it does not ripen very quickly. This one has the best food. When you cook it, it is very nice. Then this one has a very big bunch. The fingers are very long. If you are doing If you are doing katogo, you give only to one the person is. So they selected those varieties. So they selected Inkwazirume, Chisansa, Mfuka, and Impologoma.
Kimoi Patrick, like Walugembe Andrew, is a farmer trainer trained by Kulika. Kimoi hosts the mother garden for his group.
I work as a TOT as well as a KFT, trained by Kulika in 2007-2008. I hosted this project, banana management, and of course we have benefited a lot from it. This one is a demo garden. I've got some baby gardens, so members normally come and then they are usually trained from here. We have extended the project, and the communities are in fact benefiting a lot from it, because formerly, normally we were subsistence farmers, but through Kulika we have learned what we call commercial farming, and this project has really increased our annual income.
Kulika has not only chose to work with local farmers but also with institutions of higher learning as it promotes best agriculture and farming practices. Trainings continue with schools and institutions of higher learning. Attention is mostly focused to the youth.
we have facility that can accommodate 3,000 birds, meaning that we are targeting poultry as one of the leading income generating activities, which income is now used to support other training programs of the training center. So we have, as I mentioned earlier, we have the layers, we have the local birds, and then we raise broilers in an organic way, something that is not very common, but we refine it at Kulika Training Center.
Practically, I've got like knowledge on like rearing them, changing their brooding, changing them as per time goes on, and also their feeds. How much should I mix the feeds actually? In how many times?
Muko is a vocational school, is within the communities, and the communities can reach, the youth can reach it easily because it is not very far from both settlements, but also it's adjacent to the host community. So we preferred it because of its location, and we supported the school a lot with infrastructure development, where we had dormitories, library, support with the solar system, materials for training, and also retooled the teachers in the school, and also built some bit of the wall, some meters of the wall, perimeter wall, and also washrooms in that school, so that they are able to to have better infrastructure.
The institution vocational trainings are also in organizations, among which include religious bodies. Sister Patricia Nachitio and her congregation of Grail Sisters benefited from the CADEP Kulika training sessions in agriculture and value addition. She highly spoke of the winemaking enterprise.
I was trained by Kulika Uganda, the program called CADEP, Congregation Agriculture Development Program, whereby we learned many things, including value addition, agriculture. We have been able to improve our standards in the rural community and the outside, whereby I do go, I train people how to utilize the resources they have using locally available resources. For example, Kulika taught us how to make wine, but it is very hard to make wine when you don't know how to plant the fruits.
For the Grail Sisters community, wine is made from a variety of fruits. The reason being that if fruits are produced with a surplus, fruits should not only be left to rot, but process them into other products through value addition techniques. The Grail Sisters teach communities to process soy milk. Value addition has been also registered for coffee and soybean, the other customized crops, under the test towards improving people's livelihoods. For instance, coffee is being grown into powder by a union in Bozaya sub-county in Kamole district. Value addition sessions were also held for simsim and groundnuts, for instance, in the eastern region.
Joined Kulika and worked with the coffee project with the 3,500 total farmers, and we trained 151 key farmers to help us in doing the trainings of the groups in the project area, and we already did some trainings in soil and water conservation. After that, we had to also form some demote committees, which demote committees were for buying coffee in the project. They were for buying coffee in the project. So we also formulated a union called the Bozaya Growers Corporation, which was supposed to be for sustainability. As the project phased out, we hoped for Bozaya to take over the union to begin carrying out the activities as Kulika was still working with them. So Bozai has continued. It has gone far in buying coffee, farmers' coffee. It has gone in promoting the farmers in their technologies they are doing, and also carrying out the trainings we have been doing, like in the soil, water conservation, buying their coffee, teaching them the qualities, and also looking for market. So now they have also gone ahead doing some processing in coffee.
In most cases, since Kulika is empowering communities in agriculture and other farming branches, but at the same time associating such activities with research, the organization offers high-yielding planting materials to farmers and the required farming implements. Olivia Kayongo belongs to a farmer group called Chengeza Farmers Group of Masulita Sub-County, still in Wakiso District. This particular group, according to Kayongo, has been trained by Kulika, especially in the area of growing of indigenous food crops. Kulika provided 160 banana suckers and other farming implements to kickstart the project.
Na office iranga twapangisiza ekizimbe luli tubadde tukola sabuni atukolera waka wa muntu kakati twafunye office gye tugenda okukolera twamaze kusasula nsigalidde kuteekamu bikola nakuteekamu ntebe naye era nga kyennyongera okukubiriza abantu badde nnyo ku nkola yaffe ey'obutonde kubanga ebintu bino bye tukozesa munaddala eddagala efuuyire eryo sirivumirira naye naawe kenyini nga wakutte ebbomba n'oteekamu eddagala eryo loketi dudu saipa ebyo n'ofuuyira gwe kenyini owulira nga obulamu bwe bukoseddwa kati olaba bukoseddwa naye ate ekintu ky'ofuuyidde ate ky'ogenda okulya.
Is summarized as mainstreaming ecological organic agriculture into agricultural systems in Africa. The activities of the project are several, and because the pillar we are operating under is pillar 3, all activities start with the digit 3. So activity 3.1.1 is to assess the business services that are required by the various value chain actors across the board of the value chains that we are promoting. And over the years that we have been operating this project, we have identified that farmers require information regarding the good quality of planting materials, call it seeds for tomatoes, and also call it suckers for pineapples. So after identifying the needs, we try as much as possible to facilitate the farmers to acquire the seeds that are of good quality so that they can plant and benefit from the high yields and from varieties that are resistant to pests, diseases, and to drought.
In such efforts of improving livelihoods, agriculture cannot be talked about without considering the state of the degenerating environment. Degraded wetlands and indiscriminate cutting of trees is affecting agriculture.
We reach out to men, we reach out to women, we reach out to youth, but also these children. How do we, for men and women, it's you can easily see how do we do it. We do, I've talked about ecological organic agriculture training. Some of them have got funding through education scholarships, as well as the youth. The youth have also got education scholarships. They have also joined some of our training programs in different aspects, because they are like in Mubende district, we had a youth agricultural training program where it was growing maize and beans and then marketing, and that performed very well, and with the support funding from youth livelihood, youth leadership in agriculture, money that came from USAID program. So that did very well, and the youth participated in that. Not necessarily in vocational, as I've talked about. They also participate in some of these agricultural programs because they're interested. Some of them get interested in agriculture, and I know very many of them are continuing with that program that we started in 2017.
Working towards uplifting the well-being of society with focus to women and children continues to be Kulika's mandate. To the low-income earning mothers, for instance, those vending in markets, Kulika assisted them to come up with an early child development center with helpers to nurture children as the mothers work.
Uganda is Kulika Uganda. So that's how we are. That's how the children always stay here. Creating a safer environment for the children, building them holistically so that we get future leaders of tomorrow.
Such a center is at Gaba Market, a Kampala suburb. 3 years ago, another social interest group came on board. This is a refugee community where the organization has conducted educational and socio-economic projects.
In West Nile, we have been implementing 2 projects. One of the projects was entitled Reducing Poverty by Promoting Professional Training for Refugees and Host Communities. In this project, we were looking at skills development. And we did the skills development using 3 approaches. One of the approach is what we call the non-formal skills training. This is where we enrolled both refugees and host communities who had completed O-level. And this category of beneficiaries benefited from carpentry, tailoring, hairdressing, welding and metal fabrication, motorcycle repair and mechanics, there was weaving, plus others. And then we also had the non-formal training. This non-formal training this is where we recruited beneficiaries without any educational restriction. People in this caliber, whether you went to school or not, we recruited them. We just used our admission criteria. Once they passed, we admitted them into those courses. The courses are just the same like for the non-formal. The only difference is that for this category of non-formal training, people only studied for 3 months. After that, they were assessed by DAT, Directorate of Industrial Training, to certify. They were assessed and certified, and they were given the certificates. The third means of our skilling was through the application and use of creative capacity building. Creative capacity building is a methodology that Kulika co-created together with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. This is where we teach the communities, refugee and host, on how to develop solutions to challenges that they face using what we call the design cycle process. With the design cycle process, we have steps that we train these community members on. They follow these steps to solve existing challenges.
Nevertheless, all has been done to uplift livelihoods, but social challenges continue to manifest in communities calling for new strategies.
In 2019, Kulika Uganda got a chance to work with the refugee communities in Rhino and in Vepi settlements. We had funding from BMZ and with support from Malteser International. And those 2 organizations gave Kulika Uganda a chance to actually work in the refugee settlements, which is one of the communities that Kulika Uganda had really longed to work with. And what did we do there? We worked. We were handling 2 aspects of the refugee in the refugee settlements. One was training the youth in formal training and non-formal training.
Nevertheless, all has been done to uplift livelihoods, but social challenges continue to manifest in communities calling for new strategies.
We are an equal employer. We do not segregate in terms of race, in terms of religion. We admit everybody according to the guidelines of this country.
Since inception, Kulika Uganda as an organization dealing with a spectrum of social development activities, her operation has been possible due to the good managerial structures in place instituted by Patricia Beninmeyer, who is mother to Kulika Uganda. The board of directors, board of trustees, some monitoring committees, and a patron are the helm of bodies in place.
Patricia, meeting her there, all along the world she was always telling me, Wenceslas, that's how she used to call me. When you go back to Uganda, help your people, they are very poor. That thing touched me all along up to date. I'm retiring beginning mid next month. I've been much in wearing suits in Kampala, but going back to the roots. And I will be part of Kulika. You have seen my place, how the people are miserably poor. And the worst, we are being told in the two words. Poor as a peasant, and now they want to add to us a city. So you can imagine a peasant who is poor to shift into a city when he has no facilities. So with that, I will do everything possible where I have, much as I move there. Any consultation, I'm ready for you for what Kulika has done.
Such structures continue to give guidance and prominence to the organization and enable it to perform to its expectations. Board of Directors Chairperson Alistair Taylor, on this inaugural day of the organization's patron, acquainted His Grace Paul Semogerere, Kampala Archdiocese Archbishop, with the governing structures of the organization.
The guest of honor is at the helm of the organization, which has already been described, and he's supported by our three trustees. You can see them there on either side of him. Mr. Deo Gracias Yiga, Brother Vincent Barriere, and Ms. Josephine Kiza. The board of directors, of which I'm a chair, has 6 members. And each of those members, apart from myself actually, serves on one of the committees as well, to be a board representative on the committee. So there's Dr. Julian Omala. She's a member and the chairperson of the Finance Committee. There's Mr. Ambrose Obi, a member and a member of the Finance Committee. There's Dave Kisache, a member and a member of the Programs Committee. Mr. Everest Baguma, member and member of the Finance Committee. And then of course we have Executive Director of Kulika as our Board Secretary, Ms. Magdalene Amujal. Those present, could they just stand up? And I thank them. Thank you so much. And apologies to those who weren't able to be present with us today. So, Your Grace, our patron, that's your board members. And the board, as I said, is made up, also supported by 2 committees. The Programs and Fundraising Committee, where Jane Kisache is the chair lady, and then Ms. Betty Lacandia is a member, and Mr. Christopher Savagude is a member. Apologies for my Luganda on the names. I'm new in the role too. I'll get the other. Could you please stand up as well? Excellent. Thank you so much. And then we have the Finance, Risk, Human Resource and Administration Committee. I have a lot of responsibilities. Dr. Amala Julian is the chairperson, Mr. Ambrose Obi is a member, and Mr. Everest Baguma is also a member.
The Most Reverend Paul Semogere, the Archbishop of Kampala Archdiocese, was inaugurated as patron of Kulika Uganda on 16th March 2023. The function held at Kulika Training Center, Lutisi Village, Namayuba Town Council in Wakiso District. Before his inaugural ceremony, His Grace Paul Semogere conducted a Holy Mass.
Thank you. God have mercy on us, forgive us our sins, and bring us to everlasting life. Amen. As I said, this is the holy moment, and thank you for allowing us to start this day and today's business in this way, in this form of prayer, which has been with prayer, entrusting ourselves to God. And thank you for coming and preparing this interview very well. I take this honor to thank the management of Kulika Uganda, who invited me on this day of the inauguration of the patron of this organization. I was humbled to be approached and requested to become a patron of this big organization. And here I come humbly to you to teach me how to be a patron. I thank the organization for keeping alive the dream of the founders through transforming livelihoods. I thank you for all your efforts, and I pray that you continue with this, and for inviting me to join you in this effort. I thank you for loving and taking care of our Mother Earth in promotion of eco-friendly agricultural practices through the training of the organization's beneficiaries.
The Chairperson Board of Trustees, Dorgresha Siga, appreciated the continuous culture of the organization having a leadership to run the body.
With gratitude, a visit that we made to the office of His Grace were led by Dr. Makuza on behalf of the Board of Trustees, and with the Executive Director and I, by then as Chairperson of the Board of Directors. And we were well received by His Grace at his office on 30th August 2022. The purpose of our visit on that day was to earnestly request him, beseech him to accept to be our patron. We had a very good conversation and we were very well received. But His Grace did not give us an answer on that day, but gave us hope.
Ladies and gentlemen, before us is the patron of Kulika Uganda. I will start to welcome him in a very special way as he wants to take on his seat as the patron of
Kiza Josephine, a member of Board of Trustees, read out the terms of reference to His Grace the Archbishop.
I'm so happy and humbled to stand here and read to you the terms of reference to the office that you are coming up to. Thank you very much for accepting, and please, these are the roles that you'll be taking on. As a patron, you will be the title head of the Kulika organization. Thank you. And also, Your Grace, you will lend credibility to the organization by promoting its objectives. You will soon be handed over the Constitution and you will see all the objectives. So we expect you to always give credibility to promoting these objectives and to arbitrate in the affairs of Kulika organization.
On emphasizing that there is need to observe laws of nature in the practice of agriculture, guests planted trees, one of the key components that we